Alright, so I'll be your instructor for today. My name is MD. Today we'll be creating a time-lapse camera. We're going to use these Raspberry Pis. We've been talking about the garden throughout the weeks. We've been growing plants, squash, pickles. We're going to be programming these with a language called Python.
Hi, I'm Kimisha Goss. I go by Q. I am a librarian by training and a digital literacy expert, and I'm the founder of CodeGrow. I am a Detroit native. I was born and raised in Detroit, and so it really has a special place in my heart. I once read an article about brain drain, where people learn something, they go to college and they never come back home, and so Detroit has always had my heart, and after I went to school, I wanted to come back immediately and contribute.
I've got 2 gardens.
You have 2 gardens?
Me too.
You too? What do you grow in your garden? Vegetables. The inception of CodeGrow, we at Parkman Branch Library at the time had a ton of kids. There were a lot of schools around. We initially started out with the Hour of Code program. So they were on the computer, they did the Hour of Code, they were building small video games and doing different projects, and they loved it. But the other thing was they wanted more computer time. Like, you're learning how to code, and then their reward, they wanted to be computer time. And so we were like, you gotta go outside, kid. There's real life outside of the computer. Like, the coding is great, but like, go outside. And so that was kind of the catalyst for CodeGrow.
But right now it's more about 2 things that are so different, bringing it all together, and I think that's one of the things that makes it special.
And the idea was go outside and touch some grass and learn how to use technology productively. And so we developed the garden part of it. They grow their gardens and then they program the moisture sensors. And the overall goal was to go outside, recognize real life interactions, and then develop your problem solving skills and learn how the tech actually interacts with the world. So there's nutrients in the soil, and when they get wet, they conduct electricity, right? And you're gonna connect them to your alligator clip. So let me show you. On the bottom,
Oh, I see one.
yeah, you're gonna connect it like this,
Then you go stick it in the ground.
and then you go stick it in the ground.
What is it? You have 1, 0, 3.
1, 0, 2, 3. That's the highest it goes, so our basil is all good. So I was fairly new to the library when I came up with this idea, and I talked to another librarian, and she's like, well, maybe you should just ask the Friends Foundation, right? They have funds for programming.
Our DPL Foundation is a core institution in the city of Detroit, and it has had many iterations and many roles throughout its history, and forefront amongst those is providing community investment and dollars so that literacy efforts can be achieved and realized.
Yeah, so I've been in the job about 1.5 years, and I, at this point, was an employee of one. I made a solicitation, like, if you have a good idea, like, I want to hear it, pick up the phone, call me, send an email. And somebody did.
I sent them a probably not very good note saying I need money for Raspberry Pis.
Of course, my interest was piqued, as I could not fathom what she would be doing with $2,500 in pie. So I made the trip out to Parkman. I met Q for the first time. I knew this was a good idea. I didn't know much about it. I didn't have a full understanding of it, but I knew this is something that we had to make an investment in, that we had to be a part of.
And from that point on, it was a no-brainer. It was an absolute yes.
So it was trying to figure out, like, what will go above and beyond? Like, what do you actually really need? And let's make that happen. Let's not just meet the minimum. Let's surpass that. Let's exceed it.
We try to give them hands-on activities, because the best way to teach kids is to be more focused with hands-on. They learn through action, not through words.
Look at all the hairs on the bottom, you see? These hairs, that's their job, is to suck up the water.
So a typical day at CodeGrow would be starting with going out to the garden space, let the kids see what's changed in the garden, because there's always a change. Whether there's a creature that has eaten something, whether something has sprouted or something has gotten dry, but actually paying attention to what's happening in the garden.
And they go from plant to plant and they pollinate, and then they move from other plants and then they help pollinate other things. So they're all doing, look at all of the stuff. There's a waspy looking thing down there. There's a bee over here.
And then we like to have them come back and bring those observations to the table for the tech portion. In Detroit, there's two things happening very largely. There's kind of a tech boom that people are trying to expound upon. They're trying to get people to go into tech jobs, but also there are a lot of what we call food deserts in different neighborhoods across Detroit. And so our kids are able to get a need met. They learn about food. They're able to grow their own food in a way that sustains them and nourishes them. And they're also finding an opportunity that they can grow into to be coders, to be developers, to expand their worlds.
We now operate 2 sites permanently at the Belle Isle Nature Center and then at the Detroit Body Garage.
I think the biggest lesson Gary learned, I think a bit of independence. This was his first time me dropping him off and letting him kind of do his own thing.
My favorite part is the gardening because when you go to the grocery store, you don't really know how they do things seedless and they put chemicals in it, but we grow it fresh. And the fact that it's grown by us makes it even more special.
That's the other cool thing, right? You've got this big, beautiful sign, these stunning gardens, and everybody who visits the Belle Isle Nature Center, whether they know if CodeGrow is there or not, they're going to know by the time they leave because it's beautiful and it's part of their experience in walking through.
We would love to see CodeGrow turn into an all-year-round program.
Once we graduate CodeGrow into its own strong, independent organization, we're looking for the next CodeGrow. What's next?
I hope that CodeGrow becomes the type of program that is lasting in people's mind for the interactive educational parts, but also that parents and kids alike learn that technology is a tool.
And so pairing these two things together and bridging this gap of something that seems like it is so far away from this opens up the imagination. And so they don't realize it, right? But they are learning something much deeper than just coding and gardening.
Their curiosity, their confidence, their knowing that you can try new things, like all of those skills that make you human and life worth living, that becomes apparent.
Having places that kids can walk to, that families can learn from, and they can translate these very real skills to maybe take back home with them.
People could do anything if they had the right knowledge and information to do it. And so digital literacy for me became that pathway to encourage people to learn and be active and hands-on and kind of explore their world outside of traditional school.
Don't sleep on the things that Detroit has to offer. This is a beautiful experience, and I think that everyone should have the opportunity to join.
If one kid that comes through the program, if it makes a difference or it impacts their life in a positive way, that's why we do it.